So we're in Matthew chapter 14, and I talked about the first part of if a miracle is a miracle, it's amazing. So I was going to say an amazing miracle. Well, they're all amazing. Jesus walks out on the water in the middle of the night. I mean, early morning hours, wee hours of the morning. The waves are buffeting the boat that the apostles are in, and they see what they can see of him and are wildly frightened. And he says, he says, take courage. It is I, don't be afraid. And then, this is in verse 28. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. What in the world possessed Peter to say, don't forget, I mean, we're not talking about a swimming pool, or we're not talking about a calm sea. We're talking about a sea while, they were a considerable distance from land and buffeted by the waves because the wind was against them. So you get that picture in your mind. And then Peter goes, hey, if it's really you, tell me to come out walking on water. Sometimes, now, I was going to say, sometimes Peter throws his mouth into gear while his brain is in neutral. Sounds like somebody I know. Anyway, I don't know. Is that what you would have said? Doesn't matter, I guess. Jesus has one word of reply. Come. He didn't give big explanations. He didn't talk about what to be prepared for. He didn't say. It was just one word. Come. Not a complex thing. Oh, yes, it was. Oh, yes, it was. Because look what happened. This is verse 28. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. Really. But when he saw the wind and was afraid and began to sink, cried out, Lord, save me. Okay. Let's think a minute about who Peter was. I mean, Peter was a fisherman. A fisherman lived, somewhere between a third and half of his life on the water. Okay, this was his office. And was he unfamiliar with storms on the Sea of Galilee? No, he grew up as a seafaring guy. I have this sense that by the time he was walking, he was also swimming. I mean, the Sea of Galilee was home for him, and but he was sinking, and he was terrified. Okay, now, it'd be simple, and it's very attractive to over-apply this. And here's what I mean by that. Everybody is gonna have storms. It's just a part of life. And the source of your storms is really, that's not the point. The point is, you may even be in a storm right now. most of us don't even see Jesus when he's walking across the water there with us, within distance that Peter and the other apostles saw him. But he's no less there in your storm than he was in this storm that the apostles were experiencing. And the idea of walking on the water, I don't do that. I don't that. No, it doesn't happen in my life. Except, aren't there times when even when the circumstances are extreme, that this adventure of getting out of the boat and walking on the water, well, I think Peter, and I'm guilty of this, gets criticized because when he took his eyes off Jesus and began seeing and the waves and feeling the wind, and the fear gripped him, he began to sink. Well, okay, that's what happened, but for crying out loud, he got out of the boat and he did walk on water. I don't know how far, but more than a couple of steps. John Ortberg, I really enjoy his books. Every one of them that I've read, I have gotten a lot out of. And one of his books is, if you want to walk on water, you've got to get out of the boat. And that's provocative to me. It provokes my thought and my faith as well. Peter had enough faith to get out of the boat. And there are a lot of times I don't. I mean, I just stay in the boat. I'm locked up. It's fear, anxiety. Maybe you are that way too. Now, what I said about over-application, I mean, I don't know that everybody's supposed to get out of the boat. You know, Peter was the only apostle who did. And, oh, by the way, and I don't know how much to put into this, but Jesus didn't invite Peter to come out and walk on the water, right? Jesus didn't say, okay, whoever's got enough faith, get out of the boat and walk toward me. No. But Peter wanted it. He invited himself. Then Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind and was afraid and began sinking, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. Now that, to me, you can't just breeze by that for a couple of reasons. One, evidently, Peter had walked far enough that Jesus could reach out and rescue him when he began to sink. Okay, that's no small thing. And on the other hand, Jesus, maybe part of the miracle was there was a distance between him. Jesus still reached out and got him. I don't know. But I do know that Jesus immediately reached out and caught him. That's a big deal. Now, I'll tell you from my experience, Jesus is still reaching out and catching us. For me, it's not so immediate most of the time. I mean, there are things that I ask for. I feel like I'm sinking. I'm going down, and it isn't immediate. This is a real story. It really did happen. It's true. But it's not, it doesn't contain promises. And I don't think it's right for us to think in that way. Like, for instance, well, Jesus immediately reached out and caught Peter. Jesus will do the same for you. I don't think that's the point of this story, folks. It goes on and he says, you of little faith, why did you doubt? I mean, here's Peter spitting, spewing, totally, soaked in the water, and if I was writing this, I probably said, "Hey, Peter, you did good, man. Nobody else got out of the boat. You did. Look how far you came." Jesus said, "Oh, you have little faith. Why did you doubt?" That's me. I don't want it to be on my tombstone. Well, number one, I don't even expect. I really don't care to have a tombstone. But if I did have one, that's not what I would want on it. But it's very true of me. You have little faith. Why did you doubt? Excuse me. I find myself more often, much more often than I want or certainly would like, battling with my doubts. And Jesus said, not here, but if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, well, I don't know what's smaller than a mustard seed, but sometimes that's what my faith is. It's small. Verse 32. And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." It's almost like the disciples, those in the boat with Jesus, he steps on board and whoo, the raging sea becomes clear, smooth, like glass. Maybe not, but the wind died down, and everybody on the boat worshipped him. Well, yeah, they realized this was a miracle. When they crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent word to all the surrounding country. People brought all their sick to him and begged him to let the sick just touch the edge of his cloak, and all who touched him were healed. Miracle upon miracle upon miracle upon miracle. You didn't even, if I'm getting it right, you didn't even have to get Jesus' attention. You just had to get close enough to touch his clothes, and you got healed. Oh, how I wish there was a way for me and many of my friends, some of my brother, for that to happen, that somehow. Now, I wonder, how can that happen? Or can it even? It hasn't happened to me. I'm not discounting the fact that, well, certainly Jesus could heal anybody who reaches out to him. This is a record of an event. It's not a promise. It's kind of a Debbie Downer here today. But there it is. Pick it up next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.